Hello, all you beautiful people, and welcome to the Casey Gilboy podcast, where I say, let's talk about anything. I'm so excited for you guys to join me on this podcast adventure, where we dive into many different subjects and see what God has for us in all aspects of life. Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening today. I'm so excited for today's podcast episode. It will be part one of many on a subject that I am extremely passionate about. So let's dive into the subject. So I am a mother and a pastor's wife, and if you didn't know this about me, I share the dangers of smartphones, pornography, social media, and screen addictions for kids and teens. I desire to educate parents on ways to keep your children safe online and how to encourage your kids to make wise choices online and in real life. So personally, my husband and I have 4 children. I have a span of ages. I have a teen and a preteen right now and some younger kids. So I am living this with you guys. I am going through the trenches with you. So the information I'm giving you is not just research, it is experience. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I'm seeing it lived out in my own home and in my children's lives. And so that's why I want to share this message with the world. In my humble opinion, the current epidemic in our world today is that children and teens are developing life-altering mental health issues and addictions. As a mother and pastor's wife, I am passionate about educating parents on these issues and giving them the tools they need to feel empowered to raise their children in this digital age. Your child's mental health and online safety are your responsibility as a parent. Not the tech company, not the cell phone company, yours. As parents, we need to start taking ownership of this and stop blaming society or the internet. Ephesians 6:12 from the Bible says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." The enemy, Satan, and his demons want to destroy your child. The enemy wants your child to reject Christ and to develop addictions and to live in misery and suffering till the day they die. Do you realize this? Do you realize you have an enemy crouching at your door? An enemy who wants to destroy you, your children, and your legacy? If you're not actively fighting for your child's soul, fighting for your child to know Christ and be free of addictions and bondage, then the enemy will gladly take the reins from you. Ephesians 6:13 says, "Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand." I believe each one of you as a parent is uniquely anointed by God to raise your child in this digital age. Instead of being afraid, I want to give you practical solutions so that you feel prepared. I'm going to give you all some sad statistics. First, I'm going to give you the bad news, but then I'm going to give you the good news. Some mental health disorders can be traced to genetics, abuse, traumatic brain injury, or toxins in the environment. But research indicates that when all these factors are considered, heavy use of fast-paced digital media, video games, and pornography more than doubles a child's risk of mental health problems. The U.S. Surgeon General reports that online interactions do not satisfy core needs for connection and can leave young people feeling hopeless. Observational studies show that amongst adolescent girls, spending more than 2 hours a day on smartphones is linked to suicide and depressive symptoms. In 2020, 43% of children admitted to the ER for suicidal ideation or attempts were under 11 years old. Did you know kids can buy drugs on social media? Dealers advertise drugs on social media apps like Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok by using posts and stories with code words and emojis. Direct message is then used to discuss privately, Then the conversation moves to a more secure messaging app like WhatsApp. Payment is made through apps like Venmo and Cash App. The drugs are shipped and arrive by mail, often in disguised packaging. We think about drug deals as going down on a street corner or at a school locker. Technology has changed the ease with which minors can purchase these illicit substances. Our nation is currently experiencing an overdose epidemic. It is not uncommon for drug purchased online to be laced with poison. A child may think they are ordering prescription opiates, when in reality, these counterfeit pills are a combination of lethal doses of fentanyl combined with other medications. According to a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, the overdose mortality rate among U.S. adolescents 14 to 18 years old rose by 94% between 2019 and 2020. More than ever, kids are struggling to communicate, socialize, and cope effectively with real-life matters because they are not living in the real world. Giving kids smartphones too early is creating a host of different mental and emotional disorders. Suicide is at a 50-year peak. 1 in 5 girls have experienced major depression. If parents would delay the age they give their daughter social media, we would see a very different statistic. Did you know over 74% of teens were involved in a self-harm incident in 2021? 82% of online sex crimes against minors started by perpetrators using social media to contact the victims. Hardcore, violent porn is available everywhere online, accessible to millions of children. Porn access is destroying the lives of children. Apps like TikTok have a huge problem with pornographic content. One high school boy said, TikTok was the gateway to porn for him. Not to mention all the pro-Anna accounts on TikTok, accounts that promote anorexia to young girls. Another thing is that TikTok is like Disneyland for pedophiles. Did you know TikTok content from minors can be uploaded to Pornhub? What kinds of sexual dances are your kids doing for strangers to watch on TikTok? One boy said, I am 11 years old, but I think TikTok is a bad idea for anyone under 17 years old. It makes you feel uncomfortable and gives you sexual thoughts. Parents, do not let your kids get this. Just avoid it. Did you know Snapchat is a platform that was created to exchange nudes? Literally, the guy who invented Snapchat said, I wish when I sent this girl a picture, it would just disappear. Because of the ability of Snapchat photos to expire within 10 seconds, it has become the major sexting vehicle. As one writer put it, for millennials, Snapchat is almost synonymous with sexting. Susan McLean, a former cop, said, every parent I have dealt with who has an issue on Snapchat with predators firmly wishes they can turn the clock back and wishes they said no. Snapchat is full of people waiting to sex traffic your children. Step number 1 is to desensitize them to sex trafficking. Drug dealers will often give lower prices to young females seeking drugs in exchange for sex. You guys, this is sex trafficking, and it begins with 7th and 8th grade girls that are trading sex for drugs, cell phones, alcohol, car rides, and much more. Social media applications make it easier than ever for girls to offer sex for money. This is not limited to low-income families, as the social media grooming process knows no income or racial boundaries when it comes to sexualizing kids. There are many ways that sex trafficking is being promoted in most towns. In every place, Wi-Fi is available. This has an effect on countless families that have no idea that their children are being groomed for sex trafficking right under their noses. The kids who get sucked into this will have countless long-term issues in their lives. TikTok might be the granddaddy of grooming young girls to be sex trafficked. Young girls are being offered money from strangers to send pictures and videos. Did you know the popular children's game Roblox has a sex problem? Yep. Roblox sex games are commonly referred to as condos. They are spaces generated by users where people can talk about sex and where their virtual avatars can have virtual sex. In these games, Roblox rules are thrown out the window. 8-year-olds are being asked if they want to have sex on Roblox. Kids who have smartphones also tend to struggle more with attention span. Cheating rates increase amongst kids who have smartphones in class. Social media challenges tend to take place in schools and can be dangerous and illegal. Did you know there are safer alternatives to a smartphone for your child or teen? It's not too late. Even if you've already given them a smartphone, you can switch out their smartphone for one of the safer alternatives. There's the Gabb phone, Gabb Watch, Pinwheel phone, old school Nokia that is 4G compatible, the Trumi phone. I'm super passionate about all these phone options, you guys. My teen, when she was 12, she started babysitting for us and other families, so we got her an old school Nokia phone. The same one I had when I was 16 years old, baby. Texting was triple hard. You got to push those numbers 2 or 3 times to get the right letter, okay, guys? My teen had to learn the way I learned. 24 years ago, I was 16. My 12-year-old in 2024, well, no, a couple years ago, my 12-year-old in 2021 had a Nokia, an old school Nokia, you guys. Walking around, she was so proud. She was just happy to have a cell phone. Now that she's 15, she finally earned a true and real smartphone. I've lived this out, you guys. Ask me questions, message me. I'm here to help you. Parents often ask me, well, what age is appropriate for my kid to get a real smartphone? The answer is, whenever you are ready for them to be exposed to pornography. I suggest giving your kids or teens one of the safer phones that I listed and wait to give them a smartphone and social media until they are around the age of 15 or 16. Once you do get them a smartphone, make sure to use parental controls and a home internet filtering device that I have on my digital resources page, which is always listed in the show notes. You need to have constant conversations about the dangers of the internet and check their phone regularly. But in the end, your best fight against these dangers is an open and honest relationship with your child, so they will come to you with questions and mistakes about sex, porn, suicide, self-harm, eating disorders, dating, drugs, alcohol, etc. And you might say to me, Casey, aren't my kids going to miss out on so many things without a smartphone? My answer? Yes. They might miss out on some things and feel different than their friends. But you will also be protecting them from being cyberbullied, being exposed to pornography, having their mental health destroyed by Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, being groomed by predators on social media apps, having other kids and teens ask them for new photos. Aren't those good things to be protecting them from? Giving children and young teens open access to the internet and social media accounts before they are emotionally ready is attuned to neglect, in my opinion. I've interviewed this generation of college students, and they tell me that their generation has been sabotaged by social anxiety, depression, and porn addictions. Today, we can make a difference in this upcoming generation. We may have dropped the ball in the past, but nothing is impossible with God. We can help kids today avoid these same pitfalls and horrors. Your kids are my kids' generation. Your kids will be my kids' coworkers, friends, and spouses. I care deeply about your children. We need each other now more than ever before to band together as parents and protect this next generation. World War III is already here. The target is our families. And the most vulnerable target is our kids. The enemy is crouching at every door he can find. We must do better. I'm going to share a quote from B. Screenstrong, which says, "Tethered to their smartphones 24/7, teens admit to loving their phones more than their friends. Teens now prefer to go to their room so they can hang out on their phones in privacy. But are they really socializing, or are they just becoming more lonely and depressed?" Kids get emotionally attached to their phone. The average teenager spends 9 hours a day on their phone. 9 hours. What else could they be doing with those 9 hours to better their emotional health, their mental health, their physical body, their friendships, their hobbies, and their relationship with God? A quote from Colin Karchner says, "Instead of dealing with their emotions and feelings head on, kids are just scrolling their phones to numb the pain, their feelings, which is robbing them of resiliency." This goes for all types of screen time, you guys. Video games, apps on tablets, social media, they are all ways for your kids and teens to numb themselves and zone out. We need to teach our kids now how to process their feelings in a healthy way and give them other opportunities to connect. Going on adventures, getting ice cream together, playing at the park, work projects, reading books out loud as a family, playing board games, volunteering as a family. The possibilities are endless. But it requires you, as the adult, to get off the couch, off your phone, and interact with your kids. One of the things I've researched is that kids, teens, and young adults are currently struggling from immense anxiety and stress in this post-pandemic world. What can you do to help your child when they feel crippling emotions and are paralyzed from stress? If you give them the tools now at a young age to deal with their stress in a healthy way, it may keep them from turning to harmful addictions. Experts say that handing a smartphone with social media and untethered access to these apps with no training or guidance is like handing children the keys to a car with no driver's ed. So how do we sit here in shock, wondering why kids are crashing and burning every single day? You gave it to them. Smartphones and social media are opening our immature children up to a world that is so far beyond their maturity to correctly process. We put a tiny machine in their pocket that, if given without adequate training, opens them up to a new life of incessant anxiety, inescapable taunting and bullying, the soul-crushing social pressures to be perfect and get the likes. And we are now recognizing that this entire lab experiment was a huge, huge mistake. Another quote from Colin Karchner says, "Teenagers are reporting higher levels of social pressure than ever before. Doctors are prescribing more mood stabilizers than ever before. When did all these trends start to get into full gear? The data shows the spikes starting around 2010. The year smartphones and social media became the new norm for our lives. Nationwide, we see an epidemic spike in the number and frequency of tweens and teens being diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression, along with terrifying trends in self-harm, eating disorders, bullying, and suicide." Dr. Jean Twenge, PhD, a San Diego State University psychology professor, says, kids spend less time sleeping and less time seeing friends in person. Did you guys know that lack of sleep leads to anxiety and depression? Do you know how many times my teen has told me her friends are up till 2 or 3 in the morning texting and scrolling TikTok, and then they have to get up for school at like 5 or 6? How do you expect your teen to have good mental health when they've had 3 hours of sleep? With smartphones, social media, and the internet, your kids are looking for connection. Only 30% of 12 to 14-year-olds report positive family communication. What is the honest truth about how often your family connects? How many times a week does your family have dinner together? What changes could you make on your family calendar to allow for real connection? What new activities could you incorporate into your family culture? All right, guys, I'm going to end here. That is part 1 of internet safety for kids and teens. And I'm super excited for part 2. And I'm so sorry I had to give you all of these sad statistics. But like I said, sometimes you need to hear the good news before you need to hear the bad news before you hear the good news. And I do have a digital resources page that is free for you to just download. And if you are so excited for part 2 and you just want to act already based on how this message encouraged you, just head over to my digital resources page where I list ways to keep your family safe and conversations to have with your kids about porn, sex, and nudes. I also list books that you can read with your kids or give them to read, teaching them about God's design for sex, age-appropriate books that go through different stages of their ages so you can see which book would be appropriate for your kid at that age. And also books on talking about pornography with your kids, because you've got to start talking to them about it now. You wouldn't think you would have to teach your 5-year-old about porn. And you don't have to say the word porn. What I say with my kids when they're that young is pictures of naked people. You know, kids have smartphones everywhere. And I have heard countless stories of other kids showing other kids porn on their smartphone. They say, hey, look at this, and shove it in their face. So your poor, sweet, innocent kid is shown a picture of a naked person. You have given them tools for when this day will happen, or when it might show up on their phone or computer when they aren't even looking for it. And say, oh, I recognize that this is not a safe picture. I need to turn away, tell the person to put their phone down. I need to leave the situation, and I'm going to go talk to a safe adult about what I just saw. So all of that is listed in my digital resources page. If you can't find it, just message me and I will send you the links. I'm here to help you guys. Like I said, I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to feel empowered to raise your kids in this digital age and know that God has anointed you for this time. He knew you were going to have children in this generation where technology is such a hassle sometimes. It can be amazing. This podcast is an amazing way for me to connect with you all. But the enemy tries to steal, kill, and destroy everything that God made good. So he's going to use the internet for his purposes, to steal, kill, and try to destroy your child through addictions and pornography. So that is part 1, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited for part 2. I would love it if you could like, share, and subscribe to my podcast. Get the word out. It's brand new. I'm trying my best to share the word. If you share my podcast link through any of your socials or through a text, go ahead and send me a message that you did, and I'm going to enter you into a drawing to win a $15 gift card. And whoever wins, I will figure out where you want that gift card to. Okay, does that sound good? A $15 gift card to the place of your choice. I would love to mail that to you as a thank you for sharing my podcast. So I will enter you all into a drawing, and I'll be so excited to see who the winner is. So Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye, all you beautiful people.